Just how good was Santi Cazorla? For me, one of my favourite Arsenal players. He could do it with his left foot, with his right foot. Outside of the box he could score, inside of the box he was there. So much technical ability, it was just ridiculous. And so pleasing on the eye. Today I'm going to look back at the career of Santi Cazorla at Arsenal and why he is so underrated. But before I begin, please can you smash that subscribe button and smash that like button. It really does help this channel out. And turn on notifications if you don't want to miss videos like these in the future. In this modern era of football, it's all about stats. We hardly analyse players on how they look aesthetically and how enjoyable they are to watch on the eye. For midfielders especially, I think it's key to have somebody that's just so pleasing to watch, with so much technical ability and having so many attributes that don't always lead to a direct goal contribution. Santi Cazorla was one of them players where he was just so good to watch. Flicks in the middle of the pitch, tight dribbling past so many players, that low centre of gravity meant at times he was untouchable. And even modern day Arsenal players that had the opportunity to train with Santi Cazorla say he's one of the best players they've ever played with. Arsenal players in the past have mentioned that Santi Cazorla during training could just switch it up at corners. If he wanted an outswinger or an in-swinger, Santi would just change feet like it was nothing. And he only cost Arsenal £12 million on the 7th of August 2012. For me, when we think of individual performances where Santi Cazorla stepped up, that FA Cup final against Hull will forever be in the memory, because we had gone so long without a trophy, and the FA Cup was probably the best opportunity for us to get any sort of silverware. And the start of that game went horribly wrong. The Gunners went 2-0 behind. The players, you could tell their heads had dropped, and we needed somebody to step up to the plate and hurl us back into the game. And up steps none other than Santi Cazorla, the Arsenal number 19, with something that just describes him as a player: technical brilliance, a free kick that I think is one of the best free kicks I have ever seen from an Arsenal player. Into the top corner, gave the keeper no chance, and it just brung the belief back within the squad that we can come back and win this game. With the Gunners equalising through Laurent Koscielny, then going on to make it 3-2 in extra time through Mr. Clutch Aaron Ramsey, with the night changing from a horrible nightmare to an enjoyable dream. I think something that shows how good Santi Cazorla was is that he got into the Spanish national team. And if you know the competition in that midfield area during the Spain glory days, with the likes of Xavi, Iniesta, Fabregas, the fact that Santi Cazorla was in the mix with those players, having won the 2008 Euros, 2012 Euros, and most likely would have been in the World Cup squad in 2010 that lifted the trophy, it's just massive kudos to him and shows how highly rated he was, both for his club but also internationally, with his 81 Spanish caps. Now on to stats. Of course, modern day football, it's all about stats. So let's look at one of Santi Cazorla's best seasons, comparing him with David Silva, who as well was an absolutely phenomenal player. He had 23 goal contributions that year, with an 81% pass success and 65% dribble success, with an average rating of 7.86. Those stats just go to show that Santi Cazorla wasn't just someone who was so easy on the eye, but he also contributed in terms of scoring goals and creating opportunity. I think the Wenger era was blessed with midfielders who can create and score goals, with the likes of Mesut Ozil, Aaron Ramsey, Jack Wilshere, Thomas Rosicky. There were so many players who had the quality to create chances. But now that leads me on to the other aspect of Santi Cazorla's game, which is the solid partnership he had with Francis Coquelin. There was a time when these two lined up for Arsenal and you just felt so confident going into a game. They had different qualities that just complemented each other so well. In particular, at the start of the 2014-15 season, The duo were so good in Arsenal's wins against Bayern Munich and Manchester United. They were making a name for themselves, with Santi Cazorla known as the very technically gifted player. But we also must not underestimate the technical ability of Coquelin, who had the ability to spread passes and get forward as well. But I think Coquelin having a more reserved role allowed Santi Cazorla to be more expressive without having to worry too much about going backwards. It's quite fitting that before we play Manchester City on Sunday, the game where Coquelin and Santi Cazorla probably had their best performance together in midfield against a top opposition was at the Etihad in our 2-0 win. A game where Santi Cazorla stood out, scoring a penalty and giving the game-sealing assist to Olivier Giroud. That win in 2015 was the last win Arsenal had at the Etihad, and hopefully I won't be saying this after Sunday, but arguably our current midfield are better than the one we took to the Etihad in our last win. But anyway, back to the Coquelin and Santi Cazorla partnership. Unfortunately, they got injured and ultimately our season fell apart, and that was a common theme during the Wenger era, particularly in his last years as Arsenal manager. It always seemed when our players were starting to click and build relationships on the pitch, injuries would come and hamper us. On the topic of injuries, specifically with Santi Cazorla, it robbed us of a fantastic player for a long period of time. He picked up an injury that meant he missed 123 Arsenal matches. If you look here, there's injuries for 98 days, 45 days, 35 days. Absolutely brutal. It's even a miracle that he's able to play football right now, as the Achilles tendon injury he got at the back of his right foot could have led to him losing his leg. Arsene Wenger famously said it's one of the worst injuries he's ever seen in his managerial career. Anyway, Santi is still fighting and is currently playing for Real Oviedo in the Spanish 2nd Division, which really is fantastic to see, because as I've said, he is one of my favourite players I have ever watched. There is opportunity for Santi to return to the club in the future after he is retired, and I think that would just be wonderful. Having the younger players like Ethan Ranieri and the academy boys being able to learn from a midfield maestro like Cazorla would only help with their development even more. So to conclude, Santi Cazorla was a truly special player whose career was actually robbed by injuries. There was so much more for him to give for Arsenal especially, and it is a shame we never got to see him on the pitch as much as we would have wanted. But anyway, that's it for now, Gunners. Hope you enjoyed. Smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, and turn on notifications to not miss a video like this again. Peace.